Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil King.
And me, Neil Callin.
Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. You can still listen to all our previous episodes through our accounts on Facebook and Instagram, as well as through the usual podcast outlets at manxradio.com/podcasts.
Coming up on this week's podcast, I spoke to Michelle James and Chloe Shimmin about their new production company, Hello Little People, which is a children's educational theatre company. They've set up, or they've met up again rather, during lockdown because they weren't away working. Yeah. They came back to the island, met up for a cup of coffee and decided to set up a production company. And they have, in a very, very short period of time, set up a company, written a show, and on Saturday the 5th of September, they've got a performance, or performances, at Castle Rushen. They're doing 3 performances throughout the day, so it's going to be good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great to come out of nowhere as well.
Yes, and there's just the 2 of them,
yeah.
But they're playing about 7 roles each, so
yeah.
Lots of work for them going there.
Yeah, even looking at photos they've put out, you can just feel the energy from them.
Oh
you?
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be a really great show, and More FM has taken my daughter down, so they're looking forward to that as well.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Right then, without any further ado, should we get on with the meeting?
Let's do it.
Well, here is my chat then with Michelle and Chloe from Hello Little People. I'm joined today on the podcast by Chloe Shimmin and Michelle James, who are 2 Manx musical theatre graduates who've recently set up their own production company called Hello Little People. Chloe, Michelle, welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
Hello.
Hello. So, tell me then about Hello Little People and how it came about.
So, Hello Little People is a children's theatre company. And Chloe and I found ourselves back on the Isle of Man when the old global pandemic started. And, you know, we were working as actors in the UK and we teamed up. And we'd not seen each other, Chloe, for maybe 5 years or something like that. So we just went for a wee coffee and a little ice cream. And Chloe had some ideas of, you know, just staying creative and getting things going, and I had an idea as well, and we kind of put it forward, and jobs are good in. It went down well, and we created our own little theatre company.
It all happened so fast. We went for a coffee, and then by the next day we'd kind of formed, had a name, had an idea of exactly what we were going to do.
Yeah,
and since that point, it's just spiraled and got better and better and amazing stuff.
And that's the best ideas come along, though, isn't it? It's something that just sort of just sparks up in a conversation, and then you just run with it and you just go for it.
And I think Chloe and I, it's funny because we obviously hadn't seen each other for so long, but actually our interests have kind of formed into the same sort of area. And given that we're both quite excited about children's theatre and where that can go, and it's just not a thing on the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like it was perfect.
Yeah. The right time with the right thing.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, for me, is I have been wanting to do something like this for a really long time, and I felt like I've been just gearing up to do it, but it's just not been the right time, or it's not been like the right person to maybe start a business with or a company with, or it's not been the right setting or whatever, and only took a global pandemic.
Yeah, I just need a little catalyst. Oh, there we go. Here's an Australian accent coming in.
Well, yeah, you say that. I mean, like the pandemic has had some interesting sort of interesting results, hasn't it? Because I mean, a lot of people who would normally be out there, you know, in the UK or wherever, you know, working and touring and shows and working the West End, whatever, have all sort of come back to the Isle of Man, possibly at the right time to stay away from it. But then they've all sort of joined up, and they've all started doing their own little different things that probably, if they were off working on shows and stuff like that they wouldn't have done.
Totally. It's a blessing to be here and have the time and the space and the resources that you just are so few and far between in the UK, and I'm sure will continue to be for the next however many months. So yeah, we're so blessed, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, the Isle of Man is such an incredible place. It's an incredible place to return to and to create and kind of, for me, bring all the skills that I've learned in the UK and that I have been working on professionally to come back and then do it here and have like the ownership of our own company and our own show. it's something really, really special.
It's that creative control as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
we love it. We love a bit of creative control.
Stop the exits.
There was a different one. Oh no, it's Beck. It's really exciting, and it is totally about finding the right person that you bounce off, and I think a lot of our work and the things that we kind of are excited by is inspired by the Manx landscape and the Manx, obviously Manx myths and legends, which is a lot of where we have especially drawn inspiration from for our first show. And so just being in this gorgeous setting and just being able to hop over, put your toes in the sea and just find a bit more inspiration is so cool.
And we've been working really, really hard, and we're in rehearsals, and we're just, our whole world has been Hello Little People, which has been great, but it's so nice to just go let's just go to the beach.
Yeah.
Let's just chill.
Yeah. So you've got a show coming up then.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a bit about that then.
It's a big adventure. And so this is a brand new show that we've created from scratch. We've been inspired by Sophia Morrison's The Manx Fairy Tales. So we've taken a lot of we've used that as our primary source as such, and then kind of added in the most quirky and random, and lots of props and lots of costumes and just lots of sparkle and joy and fun.
Excellent.
Silliness and laughter.
Totally. And just worked in the most random ways. And it's this show that follows this guy called Tom Begg, who is in a Manx story. And he goes on a big old adventure, a big adventure, and he meets loads of Manx legends and exciting things along the way, and has a big old party.
Excellent. So you've both professionally trained then. Tell me a little about your training and where you went.
I went to the London College of Music, which is in Ealing, for 3 years, and it was some of the best experiences of my life. I learnt so much, got the opportunity to do lots of things that I hadn't been able to do over here, and I met the best friends in the world. And I think that working with people that you really care about and are inspired by is one of the most important things that I got from my training.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I think the sense of ensemble that is built when you go to drama school, and that kind of closeness, that's what really makes it. That's what that's the one thing I always take away from drama school, is that sense of working as a team and this brand new sense of family.
Yeah, so it's that old cliche, it's the family, isn't it? You've been sat in the pockets of 20, 30 other people for 3 years, and you've laughed and you've cried and you've emoted with them. There's a bond there that you just can't break.
For me, it was only 12 people, so they're absolute legends, each and every one of them, and you can count on them for anything. And it's a beautiful thing, isn't it, Chloe?
It is, and you watch them grow. You do watch them grow, and you grow with them, and I think that's so special. You get to come in first year and you're a baby and you don't know what is in store, and when you produce these shows at the end of third year, and then people go off and you get agents and you get different shows and you go your separate ways, but I get to watch some of my best friends that I knew way before they had all developed into themselves, and now on the West End.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I knew them before they were famous.
And that is what I always say as well, like that sense of grounding and growth that you get from drama school, because it's all about you as a person, and it's certainly the training that I went through at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland up in Glasgow. It is about developing what you are and not turning you into something else, and just really kind of adding everything into this individual and creating these 12 fantastic, unique performers.
Yeah. It's about making the best of you rather than just churning out the same sort of musical theatre student every time.
Exactly, yeah. And also, I think Chloe and I both agree that although we both did degrees in musical theatre, our passion and our creative kind of spirit is not specifically for musical theatre. I think musical theatre is a term of lots of different ways of training and lots of different skills, and that's what we love, bringing all these different skills together. Obviously, we love a good musical, but that's not the only thing that you learn at drama school.
Yeah, and so you said that you were at the Royal Conservatoire in Glasgow. I mean, when everyone thinks about musical theatre and going to drama school, they immediately think about going down to London and training there. How do you think that being up in Glasgow differed? Did it feel like you were sort of more removed from the process of London, or do you think it was okay?
It's an interesting question, and I think personally, when you're at drama school, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
I think you are training in a certain way, and you, especially in year 1 and year 2, you could be, I think, anywhere in the world, and go through this very skilled technical training. And then I think obviously as you go into your 3rd year and you go into the industry, at the moment a lot of the musical theatre, commercialised theatre is specifically in London. Yeah. And that's so doable. I mean, Glasgow's really not very far from London. But for me, Glasgow was a really raw place to be in. It was a really exciting, up-and-coming, very buzzing kind of community, and one that I would not have changed for the world. And it just brought a really new kind of energy and essence to everything. And to explore the Scottish theatre community as well was a really interesting thing to do. And that is it's a completely different community. What is it? It's not completely different, but it's its own community up there.
Yeah, and of course at Glasgow as well, you're nice and close to Edinburgh for the Fringe every year as well.
I know, a hop, skip and a wee jump. Yeah, exactly. And the Fringe obviously brings so much to Scotland. And it's funny. I was saying to Chloe the other day, you can go over to Edinburgh and once you kind of meet lots of people from this Scottish community, you'll kind of Edinburgh's just an add-on to that, and you think, oh, I know everyone. But it's really fun.
I suppose the beauty as well with Glasgow as well, you're only a train ride away, so you don't have to worry about the expense of trying to stay in Edinburgh during August with everything else.
You say that you can't do a big night out and then go back to Glasgow.
You could try.
You got to be in the heart of it. You really have.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast with Neil King and Neil Callin.
Musical theatre then, or at least sort of the acting, singing, dancing side of things, isn't the only sort of string to your bow. You're both musicians as well.
Indeed, yes. In our show in A Big Adventure, we both play instruments as well as doing all of the acting, singing, dancing, everything. So I play the guitar and I also play the drums. And this has been like a really amazing learning curve for me to learn how to marry the two, how to marry my instrument with acting and performing and make an actor musician
work. Yeah. Actor musician stuff is really, really my passion, in children's theatre and acting musician, and seeing what instruments can bring to a piece and how you can embody the instrument, and it can be very much a part of the whole action, and it can't be a separate entity. It's got to be, one thing, and it's super cool to write new things. And we've been working with an awesome composer called Isaac Savage, who's an absolute legend, and he's been writing some cool stuff for us, and it's just really nice to explore in that way and explore through lots of different movement and lots of different music. One wee funny thing is that Chloe and I both play the drums as well. And when what was this, maybe 2 years ago, something like that, we were both like put up for the same job, and because this acting musician job. And it's just funny how the paths like cross over about 7 times, and then they finally meet.
Was that in Liverpool?
It was a job in Liverpool.
So
yeah.
You had come down from Scotland to Liverpool, and I had come up from London to Liverpool, and we had both been like in the same room for the same job.
What can you do? Same height, same drum.
Yeah,
drums.
Okay.
Question is, did one of you get it?
No.
That's all right then. It's like...
Yeah, thank God for that.
So the whole actor musician thing is something that's fairly new to the Isle of Man, really. We only really sort of saw it last year for the first time with Singing in the Rain, with a few guys that were both in the cast and playing as well. But Jack Divers, we spoke to him a few podcasts ago, and he was saying about how it's a real different kind of sort of mindset between the two. So you have your warm-ups as the performer, but then you've got your warm-ups as your musician as well.
It's a really interesting one. I think I play the saxophone, and if we talk about it in quite a technical way, the saxophone, the way that you work in terms of your embouchure is a very in a very different place to where you would sing, and kind of working technically through that and finding the bridge between the two is a really interesting one to discover. Yeah, so technically speaking, it is a task to kind of marry the two, but creatively speaking, it's a really fun one to marry. And why can't a guitar also be a pistol or a bridge or
why can't you hold it upside down, or why can't you have it above your head?
Yeah,
it gives you this.
I don't need a hat. I've got a saxophone. That's my hat.
Yeah.
And
That's
creative freedom.
Yeah, that's the magic of theatre, though, isn't it? It's the suspension of disbelief. You can make the audience believe that whatever you've got in your hand is whatever it is that you intend it to be. So that's the beauty of the imagination, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yes.
and we use that so much in A Beg Adventure. We really encourage our audience to imagine with us when we have, a guitar as a hat or whatever it is. It's really exciting for us to be imagining it, and once the two of us are in this world, we just get to welcome other people to come and join us there.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to think as well about characters and what sounds they create and what instruments they would be, and how you work with that sound, and just how the whole thing marries together. I remember again in my training when I was doing a piece, we made Pippin an actor musician show, and all the kind of work around working in a room and and doing things is a really cool one to play with when you've got everyone's got an instrument involved and stuff.
Brilliant. So how did you both get started? How did you both first get into the whole theatre thing? What first gave you the bug?
I've had a lot. I grew up having lots of experiences in separate forms of the arts. So I did ballroom dancing since I was about 3. I was always singing, and then I think I did the guild and other events or competitions. But for me, my moment, if I could pinpoint a moment, it would be when I watched my good friend Joe Hillard in Titanic, and I think that was with the Ops.
Yeah.
And he had been at school with me, and he had been talking about what he was doing and how incredible it was and how fun the rehearsals were. And I sat with my mum and I watched him, and I just thought, I want to be doing that. I want to be up there with him. And so when the next round of auditions came for the next show, it was like, come along. And I was like, no, I'm too nervous. I can't do it. And thankfully, having someone or people that to bring you into that in that first step really was important, because I don't know that I would have taken the leap without a bit of more encouragement. And then from then it was just I couldn't stop. You absolutely could not stop me.
So that would have been Hot Mikado then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Hot Mikado then, and literally from that point up until 18 when I left the island, I did a show every year, more than that probably, and singing competitions, acting.
It's so easy to do that though, isn't it? Especially on the Isle of Man when there's so many shows going on. It's so easy to go from show to show to show to show. I mean, you do 2, 3, 4, 5 shows a year,
and it's incredible the experience that you get, not only rehearsing and developing the show over here, but being able to perform in a theatre like the Gaiety is a really incredible experience, and something that I constantly want to come back to, because it's beautiful and it's sparks so much joy in me that I really think of it as a home.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle?
I can never quite pinpoint when I decided that theatre was cool, but I always like to think about my mum and my dad, and always kind of encouraging creativity and singing and dancing and always around the house, and popping the Casino Royale track, the Herb Albert. I always call him Herb, but it's not. It's Herb Albert, isn't it?
Herb Albert.
Yeah. It's just tricky to that one. Always popping that on when we're stacking the dishwasher and having a good little dance around with our rice shakers and our little makeshift tambourines. And for me, that's was such a lovely grounding in creativity. And as I always say, that the Isle of Man is an amazing place for that to continue to spark and find your path and get involved in everything and anything here. And obviously, similar things to Chloe, the ballroom dancing and the Manx Music Festival.
The Douglas Choral Union, the Manx Operatic Society.
All of it. It's absolutely fantastic. And how lucky are we to be able to do that?
I mean, it's a great grounding, isn't it, to set you off on that track to professional career, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, me and Michelle actually did Anything Goes together, you will remember, way back when. But we were both involved, in the Manx theatre scene.
2011.
Was it?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I like to take pride in my dates, I think. I think it was 2011.
Yeah, I think it was the year after my daughter was born. She was born 2010, so it sounds about right.
Winner. Absolute winner.
Yes, because Hot Mikado was 2010, because we did that in the March, and my daughter was born in the August.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and now she's 10.
Oh, wow. That is... Wow.
Yeah, crazy. So, your first roles then? What was the first role that you did, whether it was Ops, DCU, drama school, professionally?
Well, I was in, and this was 2008, Neil. I was Tessie and Annie with DCU, and that really, that's what started it all off. Annie, I've been in Annie about 5 times since, but that was a good old first role.
One of the orphans, yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Tessie the orphan, the crybaby.
Chloe?
I think I was chorus number 5 in Peter Pan.
Right.
in the panto.
The best
over
kind of
here.
chorus, I think.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too far in front, do you? You want to be, if you're going to be chorus.
What about a
Chorus
named
number
role?
5. Oh, I was one of the
Come on, well, you're not an orphan. Whip out that role.
I think I was one of the angels in Anything Goes. I think that was the first time that I had
Angel number 4.
speaking
She
up.
moved up in the world.
Yeah, I did. Periodically, just a step up. And,
Listen, just make the
and
next
here
right
I am.
choice.
Exactly that. Yeah, one of the angels.
Brilliant. Okay, so whilst doing my my research, then obviously doing a little bit of Facebook stalking back three pages, I noticed that you've both been in one of my favourite shows, a very underrated musical called Bat Boy the Musical, and you've both played Shelley.
Bat Boy! We have both played Shelley in different productions.
Yes, at different ends of the country as well.
Different ends of the country. Bat Boy is the most quirky little number that you could whip out in drama school, I think. There's lots of... there's a bat flying around making out with random girls who then goes into the woods.
His sister
who's his sister. And you've got to be in a certain headspace to write something like that. But what an awesome little show.
It's great. It's such a wonderful sort of rocky little piece as well.
Yeah, so cool.
Written by the people that wrote Legally Blonde.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
well.
you can literally hear the Lawrence
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe. I was calling him Lawrence O'Keefe.
O'Keefe, I think.
No, it's
Oh, I
O'Keefe.
don't-
You're totally right. Yeah, you can hear the same melodies in a lot of the Legally Blonde songs that you can hear in Bat Boys songs.
And the Bat Boy songs, they've got some catchy ones.
Bangers. They've got some real bangers.
Do you know, maybe that's why Legally Blonde felt so familiar to me then. Obviously there's that Bat Boy that's sort of...
Yeah,
Did you see that first?
I saw Bat Boy first,
You can literally... He's written the same melody in several songs.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
note for note.
Uh-huh.
I mean, why change it if it works?
If it works, yeah.
Or if it doesn't work, pop it in a different show. See if it works there.
Worked for Lloyd Webber.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I saw Bat Boy in the West End, and the cast was amazing, and there couldn't have been more than about 12 people in the entire cast, and with the exception of like the lead sort of 3 or 4, everyone else doubled, if not tripled, on parts. And there were times where there were costume changes so quick that someone literally stepped into the wings and like 4 seconds came back out as a completely different character. Like, what?
It just adds the excitement of it all, yeah. We love that, don't we? Yeah.
I'd imagine with your cast then, with you only having sort of 12 in your group, then you probably did double, triple, quadruple up on parts as well, did you?
Yeah, there was lots of changing. Oh, it's such a funny time to think back to. I thought you were going to mention, A Big Adventure with our cast of 2.
Yes.
We've got, 6 roles each?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
We play all of the characters, and we have created a show that has a multitude of different wonderful characters,
Accents.
Lots of lovely accents, and so we definitely get to do that. We get to run off stage and as fast as possible.
Stage, area,
run off
space,
behind the cloth
to a closed rail.
Just run. And change into a different character.
I'm laughing because we did a preview. We did a preview show on Friday, and I was doing said run and had a cloak on, of which was of a character you might be able to guess, and I slipped on the floor, and the said run, there was a bit of a disaster.
No.
Yeah, Michelle fell flat on her face.
And it's recorded.
In our first preview.
We'll whip that footage out when we feel the time
within
is
the
right.
first 10 minutes.
As long as you've got it recorded on video for posterity, that's the
It's
best
really
thing.
funny.
It will be publicly available.
Just head to our website, hellolittlepeople.com.
Excellent. So lockdown then will have had a bit of an impact on the next bit, but what has been your latest or your last role that you took part in?
I last did a pantomime was the last role I was in. I was the role of Terry in the world's first all-female pantomime, and there was only 6 of us in it, and Terry was a pivotal role in the whole kind of show, as you can imagine. It really kept together Cinderfella up in Glasgow. It was really, really great, and that was the last one, because then we're into January. We both had a new contract coming up, so we were sorted for the year. Really went with Chloe, and then sad times. Here we are, but great times. So then the next role is in A Big Adventure.
What about you, Chloe? What was your last one?
I was due to play Beauty in Beauty and the Beast in Easter just before COVID started, so we just got So
you must have been all the way through rehearsals and then just waiting to go.
We weren't through rehearsals. I think we'd done one,
Right.
and then it all kind of collapsed.
Contract signed.
Yeah, contract was signed, all good, but it all fell through, unfortunately. But
Everything happens for a reason.
It absolutely does, and we're here, and we are so privileged and so excited about my next
Your
latest
title role, really, isn't it?
I know, Tom Begg in A Beg Adventure. So what more could I ask for?
What was the audition process like for that?
What, for A Beg Adventure? It was quite
casting
difficult.
couch.
It involved a coffee, and it involved a very unique ice cream choice.
Do you want to play this one? Yeah, okay, great.
No, we created everything from scratch, and I think the most rewarding thing about the show that we have created is that we both know that we sat in the first rehearsal and we had nothing. We didn't have paper, we didn't have a show, we didn't have a script. My mum was like, "So you're going into rehearsals? Have you've written the script then?" I was like, "No. We're going to devise it in the room." She's like, "What?"
Yeah. When I first met up on our first kind of meeting as to what we're doing, I said, "Right, Chloe, I want to start with a quote," and I've got the quote in front of me. And I said, "If you know what you're going to do, what's the point in doing it?" And that's Picasso. And we're really holding on to that one.
Yeah.
Close.
Improvisational, flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
It's rewarding, so rewarding.
Yes, it certainly is.
If you're interested in local musicians and artists, check out our sister podcast, Supergroup, where Neil King talks to Manx songwriters and musicians as they set up their fantasy supergroup.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
So what's been your favourite role that you've both played so far?
My favourite role, I think, is Audrey in As You Like It.
All right.
So I played Audrey in a production that was in Ludlow Castle.
Wow.
So that was my first experience of a castle, and A Beg Adventure is gonna return us to that.
We actually only perform in castles now, so
Yeah.
All right, okay.
yeah, it's castles or nothing.
stipulations.
Yeah.
It's the big castle tour. Next stop, Peel Castle.
Oh yeah. So Audrey was in Ludlow Castle at the Fringe Festival there, and it was by far my favourite role that I've done professionally, because we set this Shakespeare show into a really quirky, really interesting setting, which was in the 1960s. So, and I got to play the drums in that as well.
Excellent.
And I got to play lots of different characters. The cast was quite small, but as I say, we did it all outside. We were performing every night to people that were sat, with their blankets and their coats and their deck chairs, and singing at the top of our lungs in a castle, and running around the audience and singing 60s songs. It was just the best experience.
That's brilliant. What about you, Michelle?
I loved playing the leading player in Pippin. It was our final show of training, and there was a few people who'd left who'd got jobs early before graduating. So there was a major recast seconds before our first rehearsal. I was kind of grabbed out of our rehearsal by the head of musical theatre there and said, "Hey, would you maybe do the leading player?" And I was like, yeah, sure. So excited. And again, it was like a really crazy creative process, and I absolutely loved it.
Okay, next one is a tricky one. Which one do you think is the role that you were born to play? Now, this is quite often, we look at this as the role that is either the closest to you or the one that you could probably just sort of step into and go.
I'm going to go with Tom Begg. Right? I'm done the same thing.
My own work.
Do you know
Only
why?
because I don't have to forget the lines.
True, but I think when you're creating a piece of theatre and characters that are based in, so Manx folklore, we've taken lots of things from that, but you add a bit of yourself. You add a bit of yourself to every character that you play, in my opinion. So to have created it ourselves and to create all the jokes ourselves, then it's very much my humour, and it's very much things that I think are hilarious. And so it was great in the previews to find that, you know, it worked and like the jokes landed.
There's always that worry though when you're writing comedy, whether you think that, well, I think it's funny, are they going to think it's funny?
Exactly. And with comedy, you have to have an audience, because you can't just do it in your head. You might think it's funny, but it might not read well to an audience. So
it's the only lines I can remember are the ones I've written myself, and I probably can't even remember them either. Yeah, that's really pushing it.
Okay, so this is another good one. I mean, obviously you've done many shows over the years with budgets high and low. What have been the best and possibly the worst costumes that you've ever had to wear?
Costumes. The best costume I've ever worn was made and designed by a man named Jack Sheehan, and oh, he's a glorious man. And it was for Sunday in the Park with George.
Right.
So quite a large budget, and all the costumes were made from scratch, and they were absolutely beautiful. And I had 2 costumes in the show, one for the nurse character and one for this character called Mrs., who is from South America, and she just literally comes on for about 4 minutes.
Wow.
And it was the most elaborate, beautiful baby pink and pale yellow costume with blue highlights, and it was so heavy, and it was such a quick change, and it was it was dreamy. How can I get a photo of it to you, Neil? I just don't know. It was really, really beautiful. Best costume, yeah.
The worst?
Ooh,
too many.
I can't even think about it. Too traumatizing.
Chloe?
I was just thinking then, I was just racking my brains, and what the image popped up was in Taylorian's production of The Wizard of Oz, which was amazing. Great experience. I had this little green number and a green wig, and it was sparkly, and the costumes were incredible, and everyone was like talking about this because it was in the Emerald City, so everything was green, and I remember John Cumberledge just talking about the green wig and the green costume, and it just, again, I'll get a picture to you because it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, John Cumberledge, he just had the most amazing eye for costumes, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've won some amazing things with all the shows over the years that I've done with John.
We both did Cats, didn't we? And they were, of course, beautiful. Of course, they were beautiful costumes, and that was something that John did. He designed them once it was cast, then he designed it with elements of the cast personality. That was mega. That was incredible as an amateur production. That was unbelievable.
I think I certainly didn't realise how lucky we are over here with the productions and the production companies that are over here, like Taylorian, like the Ops, like DCU. But just all of these experiences and these costumes and the wigs, you know, you don't always have the budget for that when you're doing a professional production.
Wait till you see a Big Adventure.
Wait till you see a Big Adventure. You know, we've sourced our own green wig.
My mum came in the other day to watch the preview, and she looked at the costume rail, and pretty much all of the items were hers from her days gone by.
Thanks for your gilet, Shaz.
But you talk about the wigs, and we've had there's been some amazing wigs on that stage over the years. And I remember wearing one in Sweeney Todd, and I was Tobias, so I had this wonderful little ginger mullet, but the back piece of it came off. And each night I had to sort of take the back piece off and throw it on the floor. And I'm like £800 worth of wig I'm just throwing on the floor here every night. It was like, ooh. But I think we've been very spoilt over here with some of the costumes that we've had over the years. There's been some bad ones, but there's been some really good ones as well. All right, the next question on this is often a tricky one. This is what we call our gender swap question. So, what role would you play of the opposite gender if you could?
Well, I mean, it's happening. A lot of my stuff, it's on this. I love Sondheim, absolutely love Sondheim, and the company that was on last year, or started the year before that. That was an incredible gender swap of Bobby with Rosalind Craig, Rosalind. And so I'm going to go along the same vibe as that, and I'd love to play George from Sunday in the Park with George.
Right.
Yeah.
With Georgia. Yeah.
I just played George.
Just play George, yeah. Chloe?
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I would love to play Bat Boy.
Hey.
I put Bat Boy, the soundtrack, on the other day, and I just was in my room listening to his breakdown song of Apology to a Cow, and I just was like, this is what I want to do.
I've got a feeling Bat Boy might be coming to the island soon. With
Great. I mean, with how much we're promoting it.
We need to do it.
Bat Boy, A Big Adventure. No, my...
I'm available for the dad.
Great. Yeah, that, or, any of the incredible male parts that there are so many, and as Michelle says, there's lots of opportunities coming.
Yeah, it's so doable. It's
gender swapping and taking shows and ideas that we know really well and switching them on their head. And I think that's what I'm really interested to do and really interested to explore.
And bringing more female characters into theatre, because that's also obviously really...
The National Theatre last year, they had their I think it was probably a few years ago now, but it came out as part of the National Theatre at Home. They had their version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, where they twisted the story all around, and they had it more of the post Me Too environment, where it was Titania that was playing the tricks on Oberon, rather than Oberon playing the tricks on Titania.
I love it.
Yeah, so fun.
Had Oberon falling in love with Bottom instead, and
it's just
awesome.
It's really important because theatre does reflect society, and I think it's so good to watch things that, or things that in a certain format. Slightly adjusting your viewpoint to that can really open your eyes into I get it now, or I see this from a different perspective.
Yeah, and you totally connect more with the story than you would have done had it been played as it was written in the 1600s or whenever it was.
Yeah. I just think there's so much to be done with that, and so much that I want to do with that.
Great. Now, one question that I always tend to ask our younger guests on the podcast is, what new music are you currently listening to? What new shows have you got going around at the moment?
Well, this is not even new anymore, but I love Come From Away.
Yeah.
I think especially those on the island will really connect to lots of the songs in there, and this island kind of mentality.
I am an islander.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's
a really powerful piece, isn't it?
Yeah. I also highly recommend you have a listen to Noisemaker, which are a company, a musical theatre partnership that are producing some really fantastic work. And one of their really big hits that is going to be quite big, in my opinion, very soon is called Hi, My Name is Ben. And the other thing I would recommend is a man named Finn Anderson. Now, this guy is a fantastic writer. He's Scottish, and he's also written some really amazing new musical theatre. And if you would let me just say one more, the biggest one that you should definitely listen to is O'Neill and Savage. They are the most fantastic musical theatre partnership that is going to be huge, and Savage is also our composer for Hello Little People, but these guys have done some amazing stuff. Chloe has met Isaac virtually and feels like she's known him for years, and I'm actually getting really excited. I'm really emotional about it because they're so good. Please go and check their work out. Tanya, a new musical, is the funniest thing you will ever watch.
And I've just discovered this this pairing since obviously working with Michelle and working with Isaac virtually, and really their music is incredible. And they've just, what did they do recently? They've been part of the Styles and Drew New Musical Theatre Awards, which is obviously a huge. Styles and Drew prolific contemporary musical theatre writers, and they had 2 songs in the competition, and it was performed by the biggest West End stars, and they are gonna be huge.
Brilliant.
So I think you've really hammered that one home.
I think we had a few recommendations there. Yeah.
Should I just say that one more time?
Who is
just
it?
One more time.
O'Neill and Savage.
There we go.
Awesome.
They're gonna be massive.
Brilliant. One thing that we've introduced fairly recently is our Spotify playlist. So we're setting up our own sort of ultimate musical theatre playlist. Neil and myself, we both put in, well, between us there was 10 tracks that we've put in ourselves just to get it started. And these are songs that either we have performed ourselves, they've been in shows that we've been in, or just something that's just really had an effect on us and something that's sort of really influenced in some way. Adding onto that list, we've had Emma Callin. She added in the overture from West Side Story.
Beautiful.
She wanted something from West Side Story but couldn't decide which, but decided old school
Yeah,
score.
glorious.
The overture has something in there from everything, isn't it?
Yes.
And on the last episode, we had Periode, and he added in Being Alive.
Oh, Perry. Beautiful.
So what song would you like to add to our Spotify playlist?
Chloe?
I would like to add A Tight Connection to My Heart, which is from the musical A Girl from the North Country. It's a beautiful,
What a
and if
choice.
you can watch it on YouTube and watch the actor perform it, it will break your heart and make you cry and make you feel incredible at the same time. I really think it's a really incredible piece of theatre, and the song itself and the recording of it is great.
The music in particular from that show is...
Yeah, it's based on the music of Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So the whole musical is adapted music that they've adapted from Bob Dylan, and A Tight Connection to My Heart.
Wonderful.
I would like to add Beautiful from Beautiful, the Carole King musical, because it is the song you need to put on of a morning if ever you're feeling a wee bit unfudged and just a bit down. Whack that on, and I promise you will find joy, and it will give you the spark that you need to keep the joy being spread.
Wonderful. Okay, a big adventure then
Woohoo!
at Castle Rushen.
Yeah.
What are the dates? How do we get tickets?
5th of September. You can check out hellolittlepeople.com. We've got 3 shows. We've got
Three
an
shows.
11 a.m., we've got a 1 p.m. and a 3 p.m.
Act fast. Don't leave it till the last minute. Tickets are limited and they are selling very fast.
And we're so thrilled that they are selling so fast. But
And if
get
you-
them now if you want to come.
If you don't make it, then we will be here on the island. We're so excited for new collaborations, new projects.
We've got lots of things coming up, lots of things in the pipeline.
Yeah, we're going to be around about, so please keep an eye out on social media, on our website, hellolittlepeople.com, and it's
Facebook, Instagram.
all of it,
Absolutely.
all of the above. And yeah, connect with us if you fancy having a chat, and we'll create something amazing. And we're just excited.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you the very best of luck, and no doubt we'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, bye.
So that was Neil Callin's chat with Michelle and Chloe from Hello Little People.
Yeah.
So I hear you had a few issues recording that interview, Neil.
Well, yeah, because it was our first time back in Manx Radio since February, and I kind of had to teach myself how to use the kit up there again. And we were all set up, all ready to go, and press record, and off we went, and we were chatting away, and I just looked back at the screen to my left there and realised at about 15 minutes in that it wasn't recording.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So we then had to go back and redo the first 15 minutes of the conversation. But yeah, we got some great stuff, and actually the second time through it was actually they'd warmed up to it. It was a bit more relaxed. And,
Just a rehearsal, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes. Everyone needs a rehearsal, and that's what we had. So yeah, it was great. It was great listening to sort of the differences in their training, because Michelle was in Glasgow and Chloe was in London. So it's the difference in the contrasts, but then also as well, they talk about the fact that they both have a very similar background. They're both musician performers as well, and they both ended up being put forward by their agents for the same job.
Right.
Michelle in Glasgow and Chloe in London, and they both had to come for the audition in Liverpool.
Wow, that's weird. Yeah,
The chance of that.
yeah.
I said we discovered though, thankfully neither of them got the job, so there's no grudges held there anyway.
That's bad but good, yeah.
Since recording the interview with the girls just over a week ago, they've actually sold out of all 3 shows on the Saturday, and now as a result they've managed to put on 2 extra shows on the Sunday, which is just brilliant.
Brilliant.
Right then, well, that's us then for another episode. That's episode 16 coming to an end.
Done. Remember to like and follow our Facebook and Instagram pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events.
If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote in a future episode, you can contact us through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com.
All that remains is for us to say thank you for listening, and we hope you join us again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast.
I've been Neil Callin.
I've been Neil King.
Goodbye.
Bye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors' life for me.